This is the Sourceseeker Hour, our episode number 152. We've been doing this quite a while, and we've talked about many, many subjects, but a very important and one of our best subjects that we talk about is the thing of being Black. Just talking about our very existence. And it's been a query and a thought of a lot of people throughout existence of the world. I have done some traveling and I've seen how other people react. When I was in Rome, it was a different reaction than when I was in, of course, Africa. So, and if you look at the history of some people who have traveled throughout the world, some people react differently. And of course, in America, we certainly have had such a history of being Black. And so this is what we're going to talk about. I have two very distinguished guests with me, and we're going to talk more about it. And we want to get some insight and give some other people some insight and ways that they can look at it. First, I'd like to introduce my brother, Tamani. Tamani, introduce yourself.
I would much rather defer to the sister and let her go first.
She has no problem with that, I guarantee you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I always try and put sisters first. So
yeah. Exactly. Ladies first. I love it.
There you go. There you go. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, my name is Cassandra Barnes. I am a board certified licensed psychotherapist as well as a registered nurse for almost 40 years. So I own the Victoria Barnes Mental Health and Wellness Center named after my grandmother. And so I'm very, very happy to be here today and another tremendous discussion I'm sure it's going to be. And so looking forward to delving in tonight on various subject matter that we will discuss.
Well, thank you, Brother Tamani.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I'm most certainly happy to be here, privileged and honored to be here. My name is Tamani Mwandani. I'm the founder of the Black Gold Nation. The purpose of that organization is to put our people in a position by which we can own and or control municipalities, cities. We are much like Marcus Garvey in that we believe if we are the majority in a given space, then we need to be running that space. And if we're not the majority, we need to have leverage with whomever is running that space so we can make sure that our Blackness, our melanin is protected. I title the organization Black Gold Nation because our melanin makes us unique. It makes us special. It has a lot of value and places us in a position to do things that other people simply cannot do. So that Black gold is important. And it is so important. It is so powerful that those that don't have it has attacked those that do. And unfortunately, they have won the war, but we're still here and we're still fighting. Our goal is to put our people in a position to run the spaces where we live, which means we have to have political power, especially on a local level. We have to have the ability to feed ourselves. We have to be able to govern and protect ourselves. We have to be able to run as many businesses as possible that are in the spaces where we live. We got to be connected with brothers and sisters who aren't in America, who are in the diaspora, in Africa, in the diaspora. So we are all about nation building. We want to have a collection of municipalities that we can control as much as possible to ensure our Blackness is protected, and then have those municipalities be connected with the same theology, the same mission, the same vision, the same goals, the same tenets, the same leadership, the same program. And that is a nation within a nation. And that is our goal, and that's the purpose of Black Gold Nation.
Oh, well, thank you, brother, for that powerful introduction. I just want to mention and differ with you on one thing. You said they have won the war. They have won the battle because the battle is ongoing as long as brothers like you and I and Sister Cassandra have consciousness. As long as we have consciousness, it's still a battle. So
Amen.
Now they have made serious strides to dampen our spirit, but that has not worked. And that's one of the things I want to talk about, that we as Black people have survived so many things, so many attacks, so many obstacles, and we're still here. And you can say, in a way, we are getting much stronger now. Some were different with that. It's according to a matter of perspective. Because there was a time you talked about controlling municipalities. I went down to Black Wall Street today, and you know, if you look at the pictures and how it looked back then, it still has that same construct today. But of course, we don't own all of the places. But there are people in that area who are trying to reconstruct, and they have the Greenwood Museum. And around that Greenwood Museum, they are trying to reconstruct that. Now, one thing people don't know is there were 100 Black Wall Streets, and most of them were torn down by envy, jealousy, and so many things. At that time, not internally, we didn't do it. Externally, other factors, people being jealous and so forth, came in and did things because they did not like what we were doing. However, today, I would say one of our greatest difficulties and obstacles is ourselves and being able to work together. However, even with that, an enemy have done that and set us against one another by all different kinds of means, psychologically, financially, so many different ways. I just saw a report that said back in the 20s, there was something like 25% Black ownership. Now it's down nationally to maybe 7%. So, and of course, my numbers may not be totally correct, but you get the idea. What do you feel about the state of Black America and Black people in particular today, Sister Cassandra?
I want to raise a challenging, since Mr. Tamani talked about municipalities and us controlling where we reside, and I'm challenged, and I would like to get you guys input, because I've been challenged with this for a while now. When we talk about gentrification and saving our Black neighborhoods, I'm challenged because as I was driving through Acres Home today, I saw so much property that's not kept, that's overrun, that's full of garbage, that's um, all sorts of broken down vehicles. And it appears that either the families don't have the financial resources, or maybe they don't value that property enough, or whatever it is. I remember experiencing the same thing when I was driving through Fieldsboro and places like that. And I understand the value of property ownership and maintaining our own properties in our own families and our own culture. But I'm challenged when it comes to, do we just allow these properties to sit up and be havens for rats and vermin and trash and garbage? Or how do we manage the transition? I'm in a process of thinking about buying another home. I said I didn't want to own another home for a lot of reasons. I was just, as a single person, was just tired of dealing with all of what was required to keep my home up. And then the person that was helping me with it unfortunately died as one of the main results of COVID. So I was like, I don't even have anybody to help me that I know can help me keep this property up. So it was sold in 2020, and I'm in a condo that I'm leasing. I'm challenged when we're looking at moving forward. What's best? Do we fight to, you know, preserve our neighborhoods in a way that we know them when our properties are not being kept in a lot of ways? Um, or how do we manage that? Because it's like almost a catch 22. You know, we try to keep our properties, but it seems that people are not able to keep them up in a lot of ways. You know, and as I think about, I've worked all over the country. As I was working on my master's, when I was practicing as an RN, I don't necessarily see these types of neighborhoods that's in other cultures like we see it in our community. And so I would really like to have a conversation from both of those perspectives, because what should be our goal as it relates to these properties that are overrun, and still, while still trying to maintain our neighborhoods and keeping our property in our community. And then those of us that are like me, who I have, my family owns acres and acres and acres and acres of property, my historic family, that they're just trying to get uh, some of us to take control over, that's out in the country somewhere, and having to deal with that dynamic. You know, of course, a lot of us today don't want to deal with property in the country because we don't see a true um, benefit to us. I understand farming, and maybe we should look at some of those options, but then that has to be managed and cared for. You know, everybody that was living on that acreage, those people are now dying off, or they're in their 80s, and they don't, it's so far out in the country that our generation and younger than us don't have a true motivation to take it over. So these are some real serious questions that I think we have to address. It's easy to say we don't want other people moving in these neighborhoods, taking over our properties, but what do we do when I'm now, my options are Hockley and Brightland, and you know, way out in Katy, or in Conroe or Willis. You know, if you just even want neighborhoods now that they're building properties or master plan neighborhoods, you have to drive an hour out of town just to build a decent house today. It's just a lot of, you know, I'm like, man, you know,
Let
it's a lot
Mr.
of
Tamani
dynamics
address
that we
that for
have
a
to look
second.
at.
I'm sure he has some ideals on that. Brother Tamani?
Yeah.
Yeah, uh, she said a lot. I will try and sum it up in three ways. So when I was giving a class to some young people in our youth program about maybe about a year ago, and we were having the class at a place called Workshop Houston. We were using their space in Third Ward, and we took a tour, a 1 block tour around the space, and I told them to just notice everything they were seeing and make a note of it, take notes, write stuff down. And when we came back, I told them to tell me what was on their list, what they saw. Abandoned cars, broken streets, trash everywhere, stray dogs, graffiti, no grocery
Mhm.
stores. I mean, they were highlighting what they saw in that 1 block radius around Workshop Houston in Third Ward. And then we got in the car and we drove to Pearland, where I live. And I had them do the same thing, write down what you see. And I made maybe a half-mile block in the given space. I had them to make a note of everything they saw. Clean streets, a lot of trees, grocery stores, businesses, the opposite of course, of what they saw in Third Ward. And I asked them, when we got back to the space, I asked them, why do you think this area is like it is and Pearland is like it is? And they finally got to the point of the people who live in that space decide what it's going to look like. If you care about the space where you live, then you behave differently because you care about that space. The only reason Pearland and places like it look the way they look is because the people that run it care about the way that it looks, period. It has nothing to do with money. People in poor spaces, it looks the way it looks because the people who run it don't care. Brother Baruti and I were very, 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 from my perspective, fortunate and blessed to have lived in a community right there in Sunnyside. Sunnyside, South Park, I get them mixed up. But Baruti, was that Sunnyside or South Park? I get them mixed up.
I do too. I think they're one and the same. Close to it.
Really South Park, Martin Luther King area.
Okay, so Sister Cassandra, Brother Baruti and I lived in a community right there in South Park, in the Black community. I lived there for almost 20 years, and Brother Baruti, I think, was already a member when I got there. Got married there. My kids were raised there for the most part. Completely different. I used to tell people when we used to go out doing community outreach to try and get people to come visit the church. I used to tell people that where I lived was the closest thing to heaven on earth Black people will ever see. No crime, no violence, no drugs. Black people trying to build and do together, trying to build a nation within this nation for our people and for our children. The only thing that made us different than other people was the way that we thought. We cared about our community. We cared about our children. We cared about the masses of Black people. So we're trying to build something that matters. Gentrification doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing if we are in control of it. But in order for us to be in control of it, we got to have a certain mindset. And you guys already know that not all of us have the same mindset. So every 4 years, I have a national leadership election in Black Gold Nation because I'm always looking for new national leadership to represent Black people on a number of levels. If we don't have the right people who know what they're doing on a national level so they can really see the big picture of stuff, and if we don't have teams on a local level connected to that national leadership who can be trained and know how to do what needs to be done, then we'll always be gentrified. We'll always be educated by other people. We'll always seek to get our food from other people. We'll always be told who to vote for and not really understand how politics works. All of that goes back to the mindset of our people, which has to change. So you said, Sister Cassandra, and I'm glad you mentioned this because, of course, I didn't know this. You said you have your family has a lot of acres of land, and then you mentioned growing food. We have a brother who's over our national agricultural department in Black Gold Nation. He has been working on for years. He travels the country, literally connecting with Black farmers because we're working on building a national agricultural ecosystem that we can own and control. And we can move that food from the Black farmer's farm to the Black family's plate. You can't do that without people who know what they're doing. You can't do that with people like you whose family has land and they may not know what to do with it. You can't do that if you don't have people locally connected to the national plan to do stuff. All of this, Sister Cassandra, goes back to people who have the right mindset and the will to do. And like Brother Baruti said earlier, that's where we kind of, not kind of, that's where we fall short. And we fall short because also, like he said, so many things have happened to us. I used to give an introduction presentation via Zoom for Black Gold Nation, and I have one slide that it shows the major things that have happened to us since we've been here, from slavery to now. If you were to add up all the years of everything that we've been through, from slavery to Jim Crow, school to prison pipeline, prison industrial complex, blah, 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 medical apartheid, all that stuff, Sister Cassandra, will be over 3,000 years, literally, of stuff that we've been through. And you're a registered nurse. You know how important therapy is and mental health. We hadn't received, hell, we can't even get an apology. So you know we're not getting any therapy, right? So and again, this goes back to what Brother Baruti said. The fact that we're still here, a lot of us functioning at a very high level. We're not whole. We're not unbroken because we've been through so much, but we're here. And the fact that we're here is proof to me that we are an extremely unique, powerful, and strong people. We are, the three of us and everybody else who's walking around who looks like us, we are the results of the strongest ones that made it through. That's a badge of honor. But just making it through isn't enough, because we still have work to do, because our enemies don't stop doing what they do.
If I may, the organization me and Tamani were a part of is Pan-African Orthodox Christian Church, Shrines of the Black Madonna. That organization had in 4 cities in the United States over $25 million worth of property, with hotels, with apartments, with cultural centers, so much different type of property. So we understand what's possible. But what was the problem? The problem is us working together as people. So what you're talking about, everybody sees the issue, but being able to work together as Black people has been the difficulty. Now, years ago when we had Black Wall Street, they specifically made sure that they physically stopped us. But since that we showed we could work together then, but they did different things to mess with our psychology and mind to make it more difficult to work together, such as CONTELPRO, many other things where they attacked us psychologically with the TV and different things, so that it's much harder for us to work together today. Because and Brother Tamani mentioned, yes, we do have the money, but we're not willing to pool the money together with each other to be able to do what we need to do. And it comes down to us working in circles, which I like to call. A circle is a group of people, let's say 15 people that agree to utilize all of their resources and money to accomplish goals. If you throughout the United States, if you have 20 circles of Black people, they could change America. And we don't have that. We got people like Katt Williams that comes on and he attacks other brothers and sisters for whatever reason. I didn't see that as being very reasonable or for a good purpose. So we understand exactly what you're talking about, but it's easier said than done. What do you think about the climate of us working together, Sister Cassandra? Why is it so difficult for Black people to work together? Sister Cassandra.
I think that it's very difficult because inherently we are trained and taught not to trust one another. We don't trust one another. We are we have a lot of envy at the core of who we are. I'll give you an example. When I was accepted, because I'll start in the fall of this year. When I was accepted into Harvard, someone in very, very close to me and my family thought that it wasn't the actual Harvard Medical School of Medicine in Boston. They felt that it was some other entity that was using the Harvard name, because they literally told me to my face that they know what's required to be admitted into Harvard, and I don't have that going on. Mind you, I have multiple certifications and I have over 100 awards throughout my career. They told me that they asked me if my master's was accredited because as far as they knew, I had not taken the master's graduate entrance exam. Mind you, I've been admitted into 4 different master's programs. They thought my degree was not accredited. My presidential and progressive professional golf association and House of Representative and governor awards and all of the awards that I got, they said I paid for those awards. They refuse to give. You know, we cannot give each other credit. And the fact that my program at Harvard, I was going through the admission progress when they outlawed affirmative action. So I was not granted admission based on me being Black. Thousands of people applied for that program. They only accept 30-something people per cohort, but I wasn't competent enough. They told me that I'm not a licensed psychotherapist, that I'm just a counselor because I haven't done the work that it requires to be a psychotherapist. I'm just a counselor. I literally, in my ignorance, because as Black people, we're so used to proving ourselves, I sent them screenshots of, and mind you, I have a 60-hour master's in psychotherapy. Traditional master's is 30, 36 hours, 33 hours. Mine is 60. Took me 7 years. I had to pass a jurisprudence exam, a 2 licensure exit exam, and then national licensure exam. Mind you, I am board certified in neuroscience, and I'm still don't have what it takes to qualify for Harvard, even though I completed a program at Cornell, 2 Ivy League schools. And then why do you always say Ivy League? Because that's what it is. You know, we're envious. We're envious. We're jealous. We cannot give credit to those that God has blessed to rise and to make a difference in our profession.
And if I could just interject for a second, we studied that, and our founder, when we were in that organization, he called it, we have put in us what is called the acceptance of Black inferiority. So, so many Black people, if we not acting like, you know, we not good enough, they think something is wrong with us.
Exactly.
Instead of other people giving us the declaration, yeah, we understand that. But the problem is when we have an acceptance that I'm inferior, and you want everybody around you to act the same way, just like they didn't want to give you credit for all that you were doing. So we definitely understand that. And that is the problem that we have, is the acceptance of Black inferiority in our mind and in our heart. And we want everybody else who looks like us to act in the same way. And when we don't, it's an issue and it's a problem. Go ahead, Cassandra.
So and I don't know that there's an answer, because it's in my neuroscience board certification. One thing that they noted that I was totally unaware of is that our DNA houses 7 generations of trauma. We are housing 7 generations of trauma in our DNA. And until we can get, even the Bible says that God will visit the sins of the father until the 3rd and 4th generation. But science is proving that we're actually housing 7 generations of trauma. And until we can, I mean, I get so much hate and jealousy. If it's not my Chanel and Gucci, it's my Benz, it's my condo, it's, you know, everybody has to have something to say. We cannot lift each other up, and it's an envy that's inherent in our generation. We cannot compliment one another. Um, when I first bought my Benz, my SUV, uh, my family, and we're not talking about free, couldn't even compliment the vehicle. You know, the sentiment was, "Let me see you pay for it." You know, let me see you pay for it. I've been in it 5 years now. I guess they still trying to see if I can handle it. You know, um, we cannot give each other credit for our accomplishments, and until we can get to a place where the crab in a barrel thing is a real thing, but it's inherent in the DNA. It takes a lot for it's an intentional thing for us to complement one another. It's intentional, like it's not normal. We're gonna look at something that we know is bad, but we would never tell that person that's a bad outfit. We can't compliment. We can't lift up. We have to show you where you're lacking.
Yeah, that is one of the real problems that we've had in our community. However, it wasn't always like that. Back in Jim Crow days and before that, we were in the same peril, and we kind of drew upon each other, and we connected more with each other. So that has been something that has happened in the recent past 50 or more years, that so much they've attacked us because, as Public Enemy said, fear of a Black Panther. Brother Tamani, can you talk about what Sister Cassandra has talked about, as well as what are some of the advantages of being Black? Go ahead, brother.
Thank you. Sister Cassandra, would you say that you are like those persons that you were describing, as far as can't compliment, can't be?
Oh, absolutely not. I'm intentional about lifting
good
other people up.
Do you think God only created one person like you who's intentional about lifting up?
Oh, absolutely not.
Good. So it's not that all of us are like that, because we're all not.
Right.
It's like Brother Baruti talked about the circles. It's tribalism. You got the nigger tribe, and you got the Black tribe. We're like Chris Rock, love Black people, hate niggas. Two different groups. We're not all like that. Some of us look to uplift. Some of us look for Black excellence. Some of us appreciate and love Black progress. I'm like that. Bruti's like that. And a lot of people like that. So it's not that we can't do, it's that it's the wrong group that we're looking to do. We have to make a distinction between melanated and Black. For us in Black Gold Nation, Black is not just phenotype. It's not just how you look. It's not just having melanin. It's also how you think. Clarence Thomas technically got a lot of melanin. That Negro is not Black. so there's a difference. So we got to understand that we're all not the same, despite the fact that we look the same. I would be shocked. I just met you, sister, but I would be shocked if Brother Baruti told me after this call, you know, she sells crack on the side. You know, she's a female pimpstress. You know, she's in the community shooting at people. I'd be shocked. You're not like that. A lot of us, you know, we seek to destroy our very own. We terrorize our own people. Those persons, although they look like us, are not like us. There are different factions of people who descended from Africa. We're not all the same. So our goal is to find people who think like us. Because if they think like us, then they might be more willing to make sure the community looks right, to make sure we uplift and support, to make sure we invest and reinvest. And if we're looking to the wrong group, then we'll drive ourselves crazy because it's like beating your head against the wall. It's the wrong group. So we often talk about the success of Black Wall Street. We talk about, Brother Brody said 100 times, they're actually from Black Reconstruction, or the Reconstruction period after slavery, to the early 70s, Black people built over 200 towns, municipalities, and cities, over 200. You'd be hard pressed to find anybody who can name 5, because we just don't know about our own history. And we did that because we didn't have a choice. Black Wall Street was successful, and the other Black Wall Streets, the 100 that Brother Barudi mentioned, they were successful because they didn't have a choice. You couldn't go hang out with white people. You couldn't go to their businesses. You couldn't work for them. So you didn't have a choice. It wasn't so much that we decided to be unified. Because of the time, we had no choice but to be unified. And the problem we have now in 2024 is that we think we have options to go do with other people, and we simply do not. If we realized what reality really was in 2024, we would have multiple Black Wall Streets, because segregation still exists. We still don't have the same rights and opportunities and powers that other people have, and it's obvious by the fact that those 3,000 years of stuff still exist. The fact that you said, and I didn't know it was 7 generations. I knew trauma can be passed down through the. That's heavy. So you got a people who are dealing with trauma over the past 7 generations, and on top of that, they got to pay bills. They got to get a job. They got to take care of their kids. You got the school to prison. It's not even the school to prison pipeline. It's a cradle to prison pipeline. You got the drug issue. I mean, it's just so many things we have to deal with. Being Black is not easy at all. And no one knows what it's like to be Black unless you've been Black. We're different. Our situation is different. So we have to come at this thing. It doesn't matter what somebody else has done. It doesn't matter what other groups have done, the kind of success they have. You can't look at other groups and say, why can't Black people do that? Because no one has been through what we've been through.
That's right.
And I venture to say, if they went through what we went through, they may not be not only the people that they are, but they might not be here at all. Because a lot of us don't know that every melanated group that Europeans have ever come across, they've either destroyed or tried to destroy. Period. That's history. When they got to the shores of North America, there were over 500 Native American nations. 500. You'd be hard pressed to find a healthy 2.
Wow.
Wiped out. History. So when I say I'm proud to be here, I'm proud to be Black, because I know I am the result of those that survived, and we're still here. Again, we're not 100% whole. We're not 100% healthy. We got issues, but we're here. And the fact that we're here, having gone through everything we've gone through, means that there are only 2 things that can stop us. A higher power, which is obviously not against us, because otherwise we wouldn't be here, and us. The only thing that can stop Black people is Black people. If we, anything we do, good, bad, or otherwise, the whole world follows. Sagging pants, I hate it. Black people start doing it, everybody starts doing it. This would be a boring ass planet if Black people weren't on it. Period. Black culture, quote unquote culture, is America's greatest export. Right? So what if we got serious about liberation? What if we got serious about empowerment? What if we got serious about freedom, and we had the right teams, like Brother Brew talked about those circles? What if we had the right national leadership that was training local activity? But Brody said 20 circles, 10. Fidel Castro said, I took Cuba with 18. If I could do it all over again, I'd do it with a committed 8. Jesus had 12. We don't need a lot of people. We need a committed cadre of those who are serious about freeing their minds, because once your mind is free, everything else flows. And those who are willing to learn about spirituality, so we can be connected spiritually, which we already are, we just don't understand it. And spirituality is not religion. That's another conversation.
Mhm,
But if we
mhm.
have a group of people who are Black, both phenotypically and they think Black, and they're serious about empowerment and freedom, then the only thing that can stop us is us. We just got to find those people. And they exist. Everything we need, we already have, but we don't know because we don't talk to each other.
That's very true, brother, across the board. I just want to say, when I talk about the 20 circles, I'm talking about people, not all of the circles think alike, but what they do is they agree to disagree and not attack one another.
Sure.
And understand that, okay, y'all can do that over there, because we're not a monolithic group.
Sure.
We're not monolithic. You know, in a perfect world, we can have Black Republicans that we can work with, or Black reformists, or Black scientists. Of course, not everybody gonna think alike, but we understand that by not attacking each other and not going out and speaking bad, but if we got an issue, we come into a room and we work it out and represent how we're going to represent ourselves out in the larger community where people are watching. So I totally understand what you're saying. Let's do this. Let's talk about some of the Black people that's out there, and are they representing in a good way? We don't want to be judgmental. We just want to kind of share and talk about it. Have you all been watching the Fannie Willis trial? Have you watched that, Sister Cassandra?
I have it on, but because I'm in my sessions, I can't hear it.
You
I'm
know,
only able to grab pieces of it. I haven't heard enough about it to expound on it, but actually, I would like to look at the Katt Williams situation since that was so explosive.
okay, go ahead and talk about that.
Okay, so I actually liked it.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you why. Because Katt Williams was actually responding to things that had been said about him initially. He was actually responding to what certain people had said on that platform related to him. So he wasn't initiating necessarily. But at the same time, I do believe that, and you're hearing it in and out of the church environment, this is a season of exposure. Whether you are in the church or out of the church, secular or not, there's a spirit, and I like what what Mr. Tamani just said, spirituality versus religion. That's definitely a conversation I would like to see us have in the future, because I'm very, very strong in my spirituality as well as my religious belief system, and I understand the difference between the two. What Katt Williams did and what has happened as a result of it is, I believe, because I'm a Christian, God is allowing covers to be pulled back on everything that's out of order, whether we agree with it or not, whether we feel that it's an attack against our Black fellow people in various industries or not, because at some point, order has to happen. Things have to come back into order and into alignment. Things are so distorted and so far left today, uh, in and out of our church and religious leaders and people that we looked up to. Everybody is seemingly, and when I use the term everybody, I know it's not 100%. Like he was saying earlier, I absolutely know that obviously you have people that don't fit the mold. But what I can say is that the vast majority of people that we hold in very high esteem, the reality of what it really is has been very different. And at some point, you know, these things have to be exposed so that we can, so that people that are not caught up can operate in more integrity, and that we can open our eyes and see things for what they really are. So I personally liked it. He, to me, being a healthcare professional, understanding body language and what and how Katt was moving, what he was saying, he was probably 90, 95% telling the truth about what he said. If you understand body analytics and things of that nature, the fact that none of them have specifically said he was lying, they gaslit around it. They were very strategic, and I could break that down as a therapist, but I won't go there. As to how they responded or they didn't respond, I think I actually liked it, and I feel like it was much needed, even though he got personal with some things, maybe in a way that maybe we didn't have to know. But on the whole, I feel it was much needed.
I just want to give this feedback. If it was true, okay, but in my opinion, what was the benefit of sharing that truth? Was it better for the whole community? Maybe deep down or 50 years from now, it might be seen that those things being brought out was good. But from my aspect of looking at it, I'm not sure about it. I really don't know enough about the details back and forth to have a thorough opinion of it. All I can say is what it looked like, because all of us have frailty. And if they stole jokes, okay, is that the worst thing? Now, did they steal jokes and then put him down and say this, that, and the other? There's still another way to, handle that. But if you believe that it was a beneficial thing, certainly you're entitled to your perspective on that. But there's other things that happen, in the Black community. One of the most devastating things was Bill Cosby being taken down. And so many people put up a very big image of him. And when the sheets was pulled back, we saw how dark and ugly he was. Jonathan Majors, he was out there shining in such a way that was, he was going to the new heights, but, he had the wrong mindset out there and so forth. So it's so many things. But let's go back to even when Malcolm X broke with Elijah Muhammad, the stated reason was because Elijah Muhammad was having all of these affairs and he was impregnating all these young ladies. Now, in the overall sense of it, if we look at it and looking at the Bible, a whole lot of those episodes happened back then. But what was he doing for the whole community? Now, Malcolm had to look at all of those issues and not just look at it in a personal way, but in an overall way. I said a lot, Brother Tamani. Please share.
I haven't seen either. The Fannie Willis. I saw a clip of her speaking, and I listened to a sister named Karen Hunter talking about the show. I haven't watched it yet, and I'm just behind on Katt. I tend to get snippets. There's one brother in BGN who runs our political strategy department. He sends multiple things throughout the day, and I'm always behind. So I'm aware of it, but I haven't taken time to watch it. My mind is usually somewhere else. I don't think it's necessarily bad that Katt is exposing the truth, telling the truth. I think truth is important. It's unfortunate that we're not on the level by which we can talk about that truth behind closed doors, like you said, and then come out with a unified front. That's simply not where we are. But I don't necessarily have a problem because, like Sister Cassandra said, a lot of our people hold these melanated Black people, melanated people in such high regard that they think there's something that they're not. So sometimes it's important to know that these people, you know, not that they're perfect, but sometimes they do evil, bad things, and that needs to be highlighted. So and in our own personal experiences, Brother Baruti, we probably would have loved to have some truth back in the day when things were falling apart. Because if you have that truth and you got the right group, you can put a stop to some things, you can make some things happen, and you can move. So I don't think I'm ever going to be against truth telling, because that's important. But if truth needs to be told
I just want to share this. There's truth telling, and then there's truth telling when really nothing can come of it. You could tell the judge all day long that, hey, this and that would happen, but if the judge doesn't want to hear that particular truth and he wants to decide a different way, it may be a better thing to have another strategy that you're trying to, the key is where you're trying to get to. I'm sorry, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with that. But you know, if you have a young person, Black, white, Asian, whatever, that wants to be an actor or actress, and in their mind they have a certain image of Hollywood. The truths that are coming out now as it relates to what Hollywood is really like, maybe that child will rethink that dream or that notion, because Dave Chappelle didn't say to hell with it and go to Africa for nothing. Martin Lawrence wasn't screaming up and down the street holding a gun for nothing. Maybe there's something, like Dave Chappelle said, maybe there's something wrong with Hollywood. So truth telling has its place, but again, as I was about to say, it has to be told with love and respect. And I can't say if Katt Williams is not telling the truth because he loves and respects the people or people in general. I don't know, but I think truth most certainly needs to be told. But for me personally, I tend to focus on the truths of what Black people don't have, what we don't do, the position that we're in, how so many things are changing and we're not ready for those things. So I don't ignore it, but for me, things have to be prioritized. And since I am focused on trying to put my people in the position so that we're not gentrified, so that we can educate our own, so we can feed our own, so we can protect our own, that's a lifestyle. I don't have a lot of time for things that don't directly affect the future of those that are coming behind us. I'm not sure about Sister Cassandra, but Baruti, you and I, we have children. One day, if yours don't already have kids, I'm going to be a grandfather one day. So I don't have time to really focus on things that aren't about making who's coming next, making their path better and easier. And that's a full-time job twice. So I have to find people like you, Baruti. I got to find people like Sister Cassandra, and I have to find you guys and ask you, okay, what are you willing to do? Whatever that is, like you said, the cipher. We're not a monolith. What are you willing to do to protect our Blackness and move the Black needle forward? And once I get that, then I know that, okay, well, we got something. I try to focus on what we can do together as opposed to why we can't work together. And doing that, that's a full-time job. We got some serious problems, serious issues, and Katt Williams is not really a big part of that.
The only thing I'll say in deference to that is that he's a member of the media. The media, as you know, is so important, even much more so today than when we were coming up, because our kids look at social media, they look at podcasts, and having a representation like this is important, but we want more people to be able to pay attention to what we're saying. Katt Williams has a lot of kids and different people listening to what he says. So his representation in media and our representation in this forum which is so important, much more so important. And if we can get a greater foothold in the media representation to our communities, we would have a easier road to get into our kids' mind. Let me say this.
Wait. Let me say. Let me say. Let me.
152nd episode. We are toward the end of our show. I'll certainly give everybody a final word. I appreciate it. We've been talking about blackness, and as you know, this subject never ends. So we will always have, bring this issue up and discuss it in so many different ways. It crosses everything for us as Black people, our whole lives. That's what we are and what we represent. Sister Cassandra, we at the end of our show. Give your final word on blackness, give advantages, challenges, how you feel, perspectives, things that you have been through. Give us a word on what you feel about that for our final moments.
Okay. I do, but Mr. Tamani was wanting to say something, so I want to acquiesce and have him address that, and then I'll come back and share my final, because I don't want him to lose his thought of what he was trying to say.
Thank you. I was trying to make sure I don't forget. Okay, so really quickly, Baruti, Katt Williams is not a part of the media. He's an entertainer, different category completely. And our people have a very bad habit of giving Black people information, good, bad, and otherwise. We scare Black people to death with some of the things that we say. We give Black people stuff, and then we leave it there. What is supposed to come next, Mr. Katt Williams? If you putting this stuff out there for whatever reason, okay, now what? So we can't just halfway do stuff. There has to be something that follows that information
that Brother Tamani. That's why I was saying, even if it's true, what benefit is it? That's why I was said that.
Yeah, and again, I'm saying if there is no tangible, concrete, fruitful benefit, then maybe you should withhold that until you have something to add to whatever you're sharing. Otherwise, like you said, what's the point? And maybe his point is to destroy. Maybe his point is to sow seeds of dissension. I don't know. I'm just looking at it for what it is. And other than some truths being told about these people, again, we're hundreds of years behind on standing on our own 2 feet and taking care of ourselves. How does that help? That was it, Sister Cassandra. You can go ahead.
Okay, so I want to address it because not only did I watch it probably at least 10 times because it was that compelling.
It was entertaining,
and
wasn't
me
it?
being a therapist,
Yeah.
I want to address what you guys have said. And I've heard quite a few commentaries of other experts and people that were very educated in this space around what they do as therapists and stuff like that. I've watched a lot of commentary about it. It doesn't have probably 70 million views for no reason.
Yeah.
Okay. For gossip. That's the last I saw, it was 68 million views on just that one interview. Not, it's hundreds of millions of views on the clips and the shorts and the reposts and everything else, because it was very compelling. It definitely is definitely not, he's just talking to talk. Katt Williams is absolutely phenomenally brilliant, highly intellectual, which I had no idea until I listened to the interview, and he raised significant, very valid, very valuable points. I literally had to watch it over and over and over again because there was so much in what he was saying. And he puts his money and his whole operation behind what he was saying. what he was exposing, and is very, just like one of you guys said earlier, for people that's coming behind us and the manipulated games that were played to get people where they are. You have a choice not to be exploited, and he showed them how. He maintains control over his entire operation so that he doesn't have to fall prey to a lot of what others have had to do to move forward. Not only did he do that, after he exposed that, he exposed how the manipulation and exploitation of our talent has occurred in order for certain people to move ahead. He showed them how you don't have to be exploited. He maintains control over all of what he does. And not only after that, on his tour, he has put so many people that have been mistreated or not acknowledged in the industry on his tour to give them a leg up and to get them back out there. He has tremendously supported. So many people came out with the way that he helped them when nobody knew about it. You know, how he financially 10, 15,000, $20,000 supporting what other people were doing anonymously to help them move forward. They came out with that. He did not say that. He showed how a lot of what we see is a lot of smoke and mirrors and how things actually operate. So I completely disagree that that is just to tell the truth, to expose. It had nothing to do. It is almost 3 hours, and like I said, I know I've listened to it at least 10 times. Because of who I am, what I do, and how I like to analyze. Katt Williams was phenomenal. Is highly intelligent, even though his personal opinions, his personal issues may have come into it. It definitely is not. Well, I'm just telling it. That's not even how he operates. That's not even his philosophy about what he does. So to say or to even think, I know you haven't listened to it. I don't know, but it doesn't have. It probably has 70 million on just the main interview by itself. By now, it had over 25 million views in 2 days. So we're not talking about somebody that's just talking. We're talking about something that was not only compelling, highly respected by very intelligent people in this country. And I listened to a lot of commentary that not only that just other media people gave, but people that were professional therapists and everybody else that chimed in on it, body language experts that chimed in on the body language and whether or not he was being truthful or not. And it was just it's a lot of meat on that bone. It definitely was not somebody just talking the talk at all. So hopefully one day you'll carve out some time to listen to the entire interview so that you can see what he was trying to say and what he was trying to do.
I can truly say
but it was very calculated and very intelligent to me on a lot of levels.
I can say this: anybody who gets 68 million views, they can do a lot benefit with that. Now you say and I know he has brought other people on his tour, and he probably felt, yes, that this was something that needed to be said because he hadn't done that before in that particular way. So he must have had a reason for saying the things that he said. And if he's intelligent like you share, I don't know like that, but I'm sure he has a vision for years from now, the effects and the benefit that it will have. We are at the end of our show, Sister Cassandra. Do you want to share with people who you are and how they can get in touch with you? And if they got a comment about Katt Williams that they want to share with you, how can they do that?
Oh, well, my Facebook page, Cassandra Barnes RN, Facebook. My practice Facebook page is the Victoria Barnes Mental Health and Wellness Center. So, and then my Instagram is the real Cassandra D. Barnes RN, I think is what that is. It absolutely, but if you watch the whole 3 hours, almost 3 hours, you can't deny the intelligence, whether you like it or not. You just can't have to give credit to where credit is due. Whether we like it or not, it's just like what we talked about earlier. We can disagree, but we can't discredit. It was highly intellectual, what he said and what he brought out and how he connected the dots. People disagree with it, but way more people found value in it for sure. That's why they couldn't clap back like they would have wanted to. You can't discredit what he really said. The people that he talked about, you see they didn't make too much noise because you can't discredit what he said. You can be mad about it, but you can't discredit it. So it was phenomenal.
Hey, we're gonna continue that conversation, and we're gonna talk about a few more people in the community, whether they are talking from a frame of benefit or in a negative way. And there's a whole lot out there within our community, our Black community, that we could talk about. Brother Tamani, your final word.
If all Brother Katt Williams has done is showing people a blueprint as to how to maintain control over their stuff, that is absolutely phenomenal. That is what Prince did. That's what Michael Jackson did. And again, what Black people create, America exports more than anything else. If that's the only thing, which I doubt that it is, because I believe that comedians are more intelligent than the average person anyway. And I know Katt, I'm a fan of Katt Williams. I know he's intelligent. So if that's all he's done, that's a lot. And so I will most certainly commend him for that. And of course, I know he hires those that look like him too, which is always a good thing. So, you know, in closing, I keep it very simple. I try to tell people two things when I close out whatever the heck I'm doing. One is always remember that no one can do everything, but if everyone does something, everything will get done. And absolutely always remember that nothing is more sacred. Nothing is more sacred. Not me, you, your kids, my kids, your family, my family. Nothing is more sacred than the empowerment and freedom of Black people. Because if Black people don't make it, you're not going to make it. I'm not going to make it. Our kids ain't going to make it. Family's not going to make it because we're all connected to the Black group. That's it.
Yes, brother. Hey, we got to continue this conversation on Blackness. And of course, I'll reach out to you and to others in the community. And we got to continue talking, and we can't get mad at each other and say, well, I'm not going to talk to you no more. Me and Brother Tamani over the years have had some disagreements, but I keep reaching out to him. I'm never going to quit, brother. You can get mad at me tomorrow. I will still call you, still say, what's up, brother? Same with you, Cassandra, because that's what we can never do. We cannot just close off our conversation. We got to find a way to always find a common ground to be able to talk. This is the Sourceseeker Hour. I'm Baruti Carl Alexander. This is our 152nd episode. Next time, our next show, we're going to talk about the effects of climate change around the world. We talk about a whole lot of things on the Sourceseeker Hour. Hey, we'll see you next time. I thank everybody. We'll see you next time. Thank you.